Kevin Durant is one of the most famous basketball players of recent times. Whether it's his performances on the basketball court or his hilariously cheeky tweets, the former Golden State Warriors forward always manages to stay in the news. Well, the 12-time NBA All-Star has been making the headlines again, talking about his failed trade request, Kyrie Irving, and the Brooklyn Nets. In today's video, we'll take a look at what he's been saying. First things first, Durant explains his trade request. Well, we'll get into the details a little later on how things got to the point of Durant requesting a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. But first, let's take a look at what KD had to say in a bid to explain his decision to make the request. Durant recently spoke to Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes, where he explained that he decided to make the trade request based purely on basketball reasons. He emphasized that it wasn't about any particular individuals, and he certainly never asked the Nets to fire anyone. Speaking further, KD said that he didn't like the way that the Brooklyn Nets were preparing for the NBA season. He wasn't pleased with the way that the Nets were handling their practice sessions, and there wasn't enough urgency and intensity in their training. He mentioned that he told the Nets management to put more pressure on the players during training, demanding from them that they do better. He asked the management to start with him and hold him accountable if he doesn't live up to the required standard. Durant said that he had constantly been on the management's back, which included the then coach Steve Nash, and that he and the team needed more practice, more closeout drills. He explained that he didn't feel that the whole team was on the same wavelength as him, so his trade request had more to do with the direction that the franchise was moving in as a unit. Up next, Durant demands respect for himself and his team. While speaking, the two-time NBA champion also stressed the fact that he wants a certain level of respect from the basketball world for himself and the team that he's been playing for. And with the sort of performances the Nets have been putting on, we don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, which obviously doesn't go down too well with KD. As far as we can understand, Durant is also particularly conscious about the reputation that he commands among the different factions of the NBA. The one-time NBA MVP has always been one to speak whatever's on his mind and rarely cares about the backlash of his opinions. But we all know that the somewhat bad boy perception that he has in the league can lead him being scapegoated when things go wrong. He understood that at any point, if the Nets don't do well, everyone's going to start pointing in his direction and label him as the problem. At this point in his career as a 34-year-old, Durant has to be a little more careful about his reputation than he has been in the past. The next move in his career can possibly be his last substantial move in the NBA, but that's just what we think. KD will do or say what KD will want to do or say. That's just how he is. Moving on, the turmoil over at the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, so we're talking about what has gone wrong at the Brooklyn Nets in the last couple of seasons. How much time do you guys have? Because that conversation can potentially go on for days and days. It would be easier to talk about what hasn't gone wrong over in Brooklyn. They're definitely the most dysfunctional team in the league currently. They have been for the past 2 to 3 years. People thought it was the coach, Steve Nash, but now the Canadian has also been fired. Have things gotten any better? We'll let you answer that question. When the Nets acquired KD and Kyrie Irving, it was a signal of intent. Some argued that Kyrie was past his best and now an injury-prone liability, but most of the people in the NBA were now considering the Nets to be real contenders. And looking at the squad they possessed, they really were. Kyrie and KD are superstars on the basketball court and can win you games practically on their own at times, but things haven't turned out the way we expected. Problem after problem. The Nets just seem to be diving deeper into trouble with every passing game, even this season. They've become the NBA's #1 laughingstock. Despite having such a strong squad, they haven't managed to make any real challenges at the top of the league. With no signs of this curse of controversies lifting from the franchise, KD seriously considered his future with the Nets and decided that he didn't want to remain on this sinking ship. ship, and we don't blame him, to be honest. Next, the story of 4 wasted years. TV analyst and former basketball player Charles Barkley is one of the most outspoken people in the NBA. He certainly never shies away from making a comment that would raise some eyebrows. The Brooklyn Nets have become the latest target of his verbal onslaught. He said that when Brooklyn started assembling this group of players, everyone was like they would win at least a couple of NBA titles. Everyone had high expectations, but the Nets aren't even close to winning anything. He said that all the time they spent trying to become real contenders has been a total waste. He said that the Nets haven't taken advantage of the squad they had, and now at the end of the season they'll have to go back into transition and make some massive changes. So we're basically looking at 4 years just down the drain for these guys. It's quite obvious that things are not working out for the Nets, and it's looking increasingly likely that they'll have to go back to the drawing board at the end of the season and rethink their whole roster and strategy. Continuing on, what does KD think about the Kyrie Irving situation? Talking about the situation with Kyrie, KD explained that he genuinely cares about every single one of his teammates. If his teammates are going through some problems, it obviously affects him. He stressed that he wishes the best for everyone, including Irving and the Nets. He said that such tricky situations can come up from time to time, and it's important for all the parties involved to learn from them. He wishes that the team and Kyrie both can move on from the incident and just focus on playing basketball, because at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. He also admitted that he misses being able to play with the former Cleveland Cavaliers point guard, but accepted that such situations are obviously not in his control. So he tries not to pay too much attention to these things and just wants to focus on basketball. Next up, Durant has his say on Ben Simmons' form. Kevin Durant has also been having a say on the form of his Brooklyn Nets teammate Ben Simmons, who has been under constant fire from around the NBA over his underwhelming performances. Speaking of Simmons' form, the former Oklahoma City Thunder player emphasized the importance of encouragement. He said that the whole team needs to get behind him and keep encouraging him, but also said that the former Philadelphia man needs to fight his own battles. He said that all that the team can do at their end is support him, but the eventual improvement needs to come from within him. He explained that the Nets need to be patient with Simmons, but also let him know that he needs to bring in some urgent improvements. There has to be a balance between supporting him and pushing him to do better. However, at the end of the day, it's Ben who has to stand up and take responsibility for himself. Moving on, can things still work out for Durant and the Nets? Despite the bad time that the Nets have had in the last couple of seasons, the 2-time NBA MVP remains optimistic about his future with the Nets. He stressed that you can't really think like things aren't working just because you're going through a rough time. There will obviously be roadblocks on the road at times, but you can't pack up and leave halfway. It's a process, and you have to keep fighting for as long as you can. That's how he sees things. He said that he's excited to be playing with Brooklyn and that he and his team are continuously working to improve themselves. He said that he views himself as a leader in the squad and that they take every single game very seriously. KD thinks that the Nets are always under scrutiny from the media, which is why their problems get highlighted more than others, but sounded hopeful that his team can rise above and turn things around. And that's where we will end our video today. Thank you so much for being with us. We would love to hear from you. What's next for KD and the Nets? Is there a way back for them this season? Don't forget to let us know in the comment section down below. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for all the latest news in town. We'll see you in the next video.